we may jump around in this Seder simply because there's so much in it that it's impossible to get everything, and it's probably one of the most packed Seders of an Ashkafe. Also nice stories. Says the Shibud, when Pari begins off, says Pari is going to, when the when Pari sends out the people, the Bench doesn't want to take him down to Plishtim. He goes, why doesn't he want to take him down to Plishtim? Kigorafu, but they'll see him, they'll go back to Mitzrayim. Let me ask you something. Didn't they have a Muhammad just now in Kriyas Yamsuf? Elavos, Atem Tacharishin, Hashem Yelochem Muhammad. So what's the big deal? I get over there to Plishtim come out there, Bench will shoot them all down, and they're dead, and we go right into it. What's going to scare us? That all of a sudden we're not going to see, we're going to go back to Mitzrayim. Kriyas Yamsuf is a bigness. Oh, we didn't see Kriyas Yamsuf yet. The thing there, the Mitzrayim are chasing after us because the Bench wants to get rid of them. And obviously they're going to die. So the question was, they're going to die in the Yam Suf, or they're going to die somewhere else. It's irrelevant, but they're going to die. And so therefore, they're going to see a war. And Afalpi came, they're not going to get chickens. So what's going to be, so what's going to scare them? So why does it take a chesed for such a thing? So I think Pshat is that they'll see a war, meaning the Plishtim will come out for war, and we won't fight with them. Why? Because Avram Shvuel, Elini, Elenechti, and he's still alive, so therefore we can't fight with them. So Mela, because of that, we're going to go around Eretz Plishtim. Now the Yidden are going to start thinking, the Mitzrayim he got rid of. The Plishtim he didn't get rid of. So why didn't he get rid of them? Mustami he can't. So that's the good. So we go for the Lamed Alf Malachim. How are we going to win? So therefore they'll go back to Mitzrayim. I'll say this thing takes place anyway. When by Edom, when Edom comes out against them and they have to go around there, it's Edom. That already is 40 years later in the Midbar. You saw all the Nisim of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and everything else. It doesn't, the fact that we're not going around that outside them, we believe that the reason when I can't go around them is because the Bench was not going to give us their land. So therefore, that wouldn't have brought any shiloh of going back to Mitzrayim. But here, right in the beginning, the first thing, so therefore we go back to Mitzrayim. So it doesn't mean they'll see a war. They won't. They'll see a war, but there won't be a war. Okay. Now,
not for the Chet HaMeraglim, they would have gone in right after the Los Atayah.
Right.
They wouldn't have gone around at that point?
That's, now we're getting into a very good point. Where is Har Sinai? So the normal wisdom, as they say, would call it, is that Har Sinai is in the Sinai Peninsula. And right, Sinai, it makes sense. And the Catholics have a Kabbalah that the St. Catherine's is built over there. That this is where Har Sinai, where the Torah was given to Klal Yisrael. Okay, and they're looking around to see if there's, what's the Lashon Hallel, Harim, Yechatzu, Yod Gelim, yeah. So where is this thing? So they say there's an area of 12 mills straight through Machne Yisrael, but there are no mountains in the mountain. They through a straight path through. I do not know if that's so or not, but that's what they claim. Anyway, after Dubai, all of a sudden we become buddies with everybody, and the Saudi Arabians are telling us that, where Kriyas Yamsuf took place, it took place in Saudi Arabia, and that's where Har Sinai is. And by understanding that, it makes a lot more sense. Because if they would have gone the other way, through the Sinai Peninsula, but they went through the water of the Sinai Peninsula, there's really not enough water over there that you'd be able to have all of Klal Yisrael. Don't forget, there's about 4 million people walking, riding, whatever they're doing, but 4 million people. 4 million people is a long, long stretch of miles that it takes. And running after them are the Mitzrayim. And they're all in the Yam Suf at the same time. That means the Yam Suf must be 50 miles at least wide, if maybe even more, that you need it to be that wide, right? It's not that wide up here. So that makes sense that they actually took place in further down where we have the long Mitzias Mitzrayim, with a longer Yam Suf, and it goes right into the Red Sea. It also would be Metaretz, the Indian of how come you got the Jews land up in Eva Yadin. I mean, if they went through the wherever when we're describing it, they should have just skimmed around Eretz Plishtim and right into Eretz Canaan. And all of a sudden we're landing up on the other side of the Yarden, the Amma and Moav, and coming in through Yerichai to Eretz Yisrael. So there's a lot of good points for them, and they've been doing some research on it. Right then and I don't know. I do know that Hasidic Rebbeim went to see this place, but that's about it that I know. Okay. Now that we said in the even though the Rebbeinu Shem hardens the heart, doesn't make them be crazy. It's not what he does. They have a reason. They have a mokim to rely on, to think that they can get away with something. In other words, not that the thing. So sometimes the Rebbeinu makes him have his temper. So by temper, when they came by the Arbe, the Rebbeinu tosses them. Pari tosses them out. So therefore, even though the Rebbeinu hardened his heart, he invited them back when the people said to him, "Don't you know of the Mitzrayim?" Right? But again, he had a temper. The Rebbeinu gave him the temper, and Moshe Rabbeinu said something that triggered the temper. All of a sudden, he kicks him out. But there has to be something that they can be totally on. They're not to go connected the stump stupidity. We're doing it anyway, even though it means we're dying. That's not the Rebbeinu doesn't do that. Then if he wants to kill him, he'll kill him. He doesn't have to play games with him. Over here, the same thing is he took him to Baal Tzfon, and all the Avodah Zarahs are destroyed, and the only one that's standing is Baal Tzfon. So they have it. So you see, Baal Tzfon can stop them. Baal Tzfon can stop them, so they're not invincible. They're not invincible. The Rebbeinu is not all powerful. So therefore, Mamela, I can chase after them. Okay, that works. Okay, I'm going to skip after the Shira. There's a lot of people, a lot of things about the Shira, and whatever is important to know. There's I don't know if it's a Shivach or not, I don't know. It says, "Vatikach Miriam Hanaviah Chisaron Satef Biyoda Vatitzena Kol Anoshim Acher Vatuk Muchaylos Vatan Lahem Miriam Shir LaHashem Ki Goy Go'o Sus V'Reich B'Rom Bayom." So they asked the Kashem, what was this the point that the Noshim was singing this point? And this is a point maybe in relationships, and I guess it has nothing to do with the thing, but maybe in the respect of a husband and a wife to each other is in this point. In other words, they say that Neila, the Rechbay, the power of the Mitri, he deserved to die. What was the Sus's for his fault to die? Why did the Sus have to die? They didn't do anything. They're just an animal. Attach them onto the things, and why they died. Elavos, they died because they were attached to something that was attacking Klal Yisrael. In other words, so they said, we're also attached. We're attached to B'nai Torah, we're attached to our husbands, to our children, to everything else. So when you're giving them Olam Haba, you're giving us too, because that's what we deserve. It's a cute word. come to Fatimon. In Tilim, Ayin Ches, it says that they asked for bread also not the right way. They had no right to ask for bread either. The Gemara seems to say that bosol, meat they asked for, was not proper, and bread was proper. Now the Gemara can't krig on Tilim. So if Tilim says it was not proper, it's not proper. The question is, why isn't it proper? And you don't see that the Rebbeinu Shem regrets a taina on them. Maybe the way they did it, maybe is a taina, but not on the fact that they had a request. I think this is pshat. You have Bachim Yeshiva, people at work. They eat breakfast, right? They're not hungry until lunchtime. A little early, a little later, but till lunchtime they're not hungry. What they do lunchtime, they go get lunch. In Yeshiva, you go down to the lunchroom, and if you're working, they have it delivered, whatever it is there. What happens if they would tell you, today there is no lunch? When will you get hungry? So the odds are that you'll get hungry instead of 1 o'clock at 11 o'clock. That's the taina. That's Tilim. Why weren't you at least the same amount? You had enough food in you to last till 1 o'clock. So why aren't you not complaining until 1 o'clock? Why are you complaining at 11 o'clock? Right? So that's the taina. So why is it not a taina? Because they're hungry at 11 o'clock. Normally you're not hungry until 1 o'clock, but because I know I'm not going to have, I got hungry at 11 o'clock. And so I really am hungry. But the hunger comes because I didn't trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu that I'm going to have lunch at 1 o'clock. But if I had that trust, I wouldn't have gotten hungry. That's what I think is the machlekes. Or how both can say what they say. So the Rebbeinu Shem tells Moshe Rabbeinu what he's going to do. He's going to give them he's going to give them food from the heavens, right? And it's going to be on the 6th day. He's going to give them double. That's what he tells Moshe Rabbeinu, right? What does Moshe then comes and tells Klal Yisrael? That at night you're going to get meat. Now we're going to get a slov. And in the morning we're going to get the mun. Okay, you're going to have bread. Okay. Okay. Okay, so what do they say then? So, good. So now what does it say? What happened? They collected. Yasu came in Israel, and the Jews did that. The collectors collected a lot and a little. They measured it against the oimel. The guy who picked a lot didn't have more. And the guy who picked less didn't have less. Each one picked one oimel for each member of his family. First of all, this is very strange. Why would I reward someone who didn't do enough work? Right? Why would I reward him? Maybe the Malbeh, I understand why he doesn't have more. Because the Benjamin is saying, you can't take what I don't want to give you. But the one who did less, why should he have enough? He didn't do enough. At the end of the parsha, it says that they put away the mun for all days, and Yomi and his generation took it out and he showed it to them. He said, "This is what you ate," and why are you not learning? And they said, we can't learn, we have to do work. And because of that, he took out the mun and said, we don't have to do work. What does he mean? The mun's going to fall again? No. What he means is all the lessons of Parnasa is in the mun. That's why you say Parshas Haman. All those people just said Parshas Haman. Right? Why are you saying it? Oh, it's going to be Hatzlacha. Why is it going to be Hatzlacha? And what's one got to do with your business? All of us, it's a lesson for all time of business. It's B'yad Hashem. The Benshim is the one that does it. He gives us a cheshbon how he does it. Okay? He demands of every person to do ishtadlus. But let's understand what ishtadlus means. A person that needs, let's say, $50,000, right? And he's going to work at minimum wage, right? At $15, you can just about make it, right? I don't know if minimum wage reached $15 yet, but if it did, okay. Let's say I need $60,000 because of inflation all of a sudden. I don't make it anymore. So my ishtadlus is not sufficient. That's not called ishtadlus. I have to get a job that's going to pay me sufficiently to support myself. Okay? Now, there are certain jobs that technically can't support you, and FLP we don't have to ask for tzedakah and anything else, and that's the Beinei Shleilim who does the Inyan of Hasamecha, and we should understand that the fact that we're able to do what we do is a Beinei Shleilim sometimes fills up our pockets. How he does it, I don't know, but let's understand something. Okay? I know this from a member of the community that she works as a nurse. And she works in a place with Puerto Ricans, blacks. I don't think she's working with Italians, but probably Italians too. And they're always complaining, every time often they talk about their wages and we're not making enough and we need more money and whatever it is there. And they're all making about the same. 85,000, maybe 100,000 now, I don't know. Okay, that's pretty good money. Okay? And they're saying we can't afford ever to eat steak. And how much does steak cost? $3 a pound, $5 a pound. Right? They can't afford to ever eat steak. By us, how much we paying for steak? It's about 20 up to now, 22, 23. I don't know what it's up to now, right? And we still eat steak. We don't eat it maybe as often as we would like, but we eat it once a week, once a month. We eat steak. They send their kids to public school, free tuition. We send our kids to yeshiva, we have to pay tuition, okay? We pay for kosher food, it's a harder price. We pay for whatever, Chalav Yisrael stuff and products is a higher price. How do we afford it if they claim they can't afford it? So obviously we must be getting, the bench must be slipping us a couple of bucks in the pocket every time without our realizing it. How don't we realize it? Because we don't make a cheshbon every penny that we spend. If we do, we're going to have a big problem. Let's say, for instance, I'll give you a motion on gas. You just bought a car, and they tell you get 24 miles to the gallon, right? Now, 24 miles, I want to see if I really get 24 miles to the gallon, right? So I start timing myself. How many miles I filled up, how many miles did I get till I needed my next fill up, and so on, and I make my cheshbon, and I start saying, oh, it's not 24 hours, I'm only getting 22, they tell you because you're in traffic, you're getting 26, you're on the highway, whatever it is there, but each one has a teretz why you're getting what you're getting, right? You want to get 80 miles to a gallon? You can't know it. If I give you 80 miles to a gallon, it's a mess. I don't make nisim. You don't pray for nisim. But if you don't know how many miles you drove until the next just fill up. and keep driving until you need to fill up again. You'll find that you'll be covering a lot more land. How will I know that ever? If you don't trust Semecha, I'll ever know. Because you start thinking, when was the last time I filled up? Was it last week? 2 weeks ago? Ain't that interesting? I didn't know I got 2 weeks worth of gas on one shot. That's how you'll know that God's with you. Okay. That's the, first of all, that's the Inyan Vasomecha. Now, the Inyan of Tishtadlus. I got to do Ishtadlus. It's got to do proper Ishtadlus. Okay? I want to claim, first of all, I have a kasha. Why do we have to be a moidu with an oima? Why don't, and the good enterprising Jew, and I'm sure there was many of them, would make and say, how many people in your family? I have 10 people in my family. Okay? I'm give you a basket that takes 10 oimrim. You fill it up, and you got enough food for your family. Okay? Everybody knows. What's in there? But that didn't happen. And not only didn't it happen, after we collected in a non-knowing basket, we had to measure it to know how much we got, right? And the one who put in a little didn't have less, and the one who put in a lot didn't have more. So I want to claim the two types of people in the world. There's a type of person, I didn't do yet enough. It's not enough yet. It's not enough yet. So he keeps putting in more and more and more. But his kavanah is only to put in a naima for everybody. If that's the case, that's exactly what you're going to get. On the other hand, there's some guys, I got plenty already. Right? In that case, you want to measure, we'll measure it in, and he's got the aima too. Because he did Ishtadlus. So Ishtadlus is what you imagine it to be, not stam mazeh, I work, no end, whatever. There's whatever I want to put into it, that's what's going to be Ishtadlus. But I believe that can bring in the panos I need. Now I'll give you a mushal how it would work in real life. Any business that you want to go into, as I was told, you can go online and find out what the expectancy of the parnasa is and how many hours you have to do and what you have to do. So I'm going to give you a mush with a salesman, for instance. A salesman has to make 10 cold calls. Hopefully he gets 1 or 2 of them. And he has to have 20 repeat orders. Right? And then you make a parnasa. And this has gone on for a guy for 10 years. So Baruch Hashem, he sees it works. Right? All of a sudden, one day, it's not working. I made all my calls, I made all my things, and nobody needs anything. I don't have anything. So I have 2 choices now. I can say, okay, I have to put in another few hours because I didn't get anything. If you do that, you're going to up the need for Ishtadlus that it takes to make the panos that you need. I would not do that. I would tell you to the Benishlam, I did enough Ishtadlus. You see, it worked 10 years. So I did enough Ishtadlus. It's not working today, so I see you don't want to give me. Whatever reason you don't want to give me. So Benishlam, I'm going to the Beis Medrash, I'll learn, and tomorrow you'll give me. And that's what I do. That's what the Ishtadlus means. I don't put in more than what I have to put in. But I have to put in Ishtadlus that makes sense, not just Ishtadlus. I'll dig a hole in the. Now this doesn't mean, as far as prayer goes, a different kind of opinion. We'll bring it into now for at the end of the Seder, they ask for water, right? What do you ask him for water for? Because we haven't know what to drink, right? Okay. So it's a very important Inyan. You can't say there's anything like the food. You need to have water. So what's your water? So what's the time on Klal Yisrael? Why is it called the Russian? ויקרא שם המוקם מסר מריבה, al riv bnei Yisrael ועל נשאיסם as Hashem, they argued with God and they tested him, Leimor hayeshem mikibenu moim. God is with us or not. Where do you see any tests? And this is so right that we have in Parshas Eschana. One second. I think it says Eschana. Near the end. Don't test God like you tested him in Masa. Right? What did I test him in Masa? I asked for water. Okay. The test was I wanted water. I didn't ask to be hydrated. I asked for water. I want to see if God can give me water in the desert. I wasn't interested. That was the test that they made. That's a taina. What should they have asked for? They should have asked for Rabbeinu Shalom, we need hydration. We can't live without hydration, and we're going to die if we don't have it. So I goes, if I don't need water, I wouldn't have asked for water, I wouldn't have needed water. And possibly if you wouldn't have asked for food, you may not have needed food. But we said, once you knew that there was no food, you got hungry, so therefore, unfortunately, you asked for food. But you see, when it came to being tired or wearing clothes, the clothes always were the same good clothes, and they grew on you as you grew. And there's the one side, when the baby was born, they put him on a onesie, and then when he's 90 years old, he still has the same suit. Well, it can't be the same guy. Okay, but the 40 years in the midbar. When he was 38, he had this new fashionable suit, which fit exactly with the latest style that there was. How did that happen? Because every day you don't know that you need a suit. As long as it's clean, you're fine. As long as it fits, you're fine. So therefore, you don't notice the little changes the Reuven is making for you as you keep growing. So therefore, every day I have the same suit I have. I don't need any different suit. So therefore, the same thing goes when you start walking, right? How far can you walk? I don't know, until I get tired. If I don't get tired, I keep walking. So I kept walking and walking and walking. I never get tired. The same thing would have been, I wouldn't have been hungry. I wouldn't have been thirsty. But you wanted water, so therefore you tested me. So what Shishir Zatzal said, this is very important, the Gabi Panosa. A guy needs a job, and he's going for an interview. What should he be mispal for? So you can be mispal with Ben Shalom. Please give me this job. I need it so bad that I'm going for the interview. Make me make 100, want to hire me right after I make the interview. Okay, that's one way of doing it. And the Rosh Hashiva said that's wrong. What your tefillah should be is, Rabbeinu Shalom, I need panos. I happen to be going on an interview, and I don't want to look like a fool, so make me do very well on the interview. But I'm not asking you for the panosa because of the interview. And therefore it's possible that you get a different panosa. Leaving the interview, a guy will say, oh, what were you there for? Oh, I was taking an interview by this guy for this business. Oh, I have the same business. Why do you want to work for me? And you'll have a business. In other words, I don't test the banish on which panosa I want. I ask him for the panosa. Now, what happens when it's not panosa that I want? It's a career that I want. In other words, I want to be a doctor, or I want to this, then obviously you're praying to be a doctor. You're not, because it's not panosa that you're interested in. You're interested in being a doctor. Now, which doctor should you be? Should I pray for that too? Or maybe if I count the simplest one is the best one, if there is such a thing. Okay. Okay, so that's the end of Hishtadlus. I'll give you another mushal where you can see it clearly, but just the opposite in a way. Faran Adin, that Trume has to be given 2%. 1 in 50 has to be given, right, for Truma. But you do it with a moeded. You estimate. You don't measure it. Why? Because by Truma, it's really when you need any one drop of Truma is even part of the whole business. So why am I giving more? Because the Rabbanim made a din on me that I have to give 2%. So therefore, they give it the way the Torah says. I don't do it. I do by estimation. Myself, on the other hand, I have to measure. Okay, so I'm doing by estimation. It says there that a guy with an iron raw gives 1 in 60. A guy with an iron toiv gives 1 in 40. What does that mean? I want to give 1 in 40, you want to give 1 in 60, and it all fits into the 2%. The Chazal said 2%, didn't say less than 2%, didn't say more than 2%. So what does it mean? The pshat is, it's an estimation. When a guy has a bad eye, so he looks at it and he says, I gave him plenty already. And that's plenty. So it'll be 1 in 60. He's looking for 2%. But it'll end up really giving less than 2%. And a guy with a good eye would be giving more than 2%. In other words, because that's not enough yet. In this particular case, it will be just the opposite. The guy with the bad eye means I got plenty already. He's got enough. He's the one that doesn't have to do much more work. And the one that said it's not, it has to work. This thing applies in any job that you do, any place that you do, whatever it is, that can be open. I remember when I was a kid, I'm married already. It was a store, grocery store that opened 5 o'clock in the morning and closed 11 o'clock at night. 2 people. So it was hard work. And he asked them why they open so early and why they closing so late. I mean, for me, it was very nice. You could go whatever minute I went to, I could pick up whatever I want, the freshest stuff. But I asked him, like, it's very hard. He said, but maybe I'm a customer. Okay. They knocked down that building, and they bought a different business, a commercial bakery. And again, they are, and all of a sudden, they open up after it's about 7 o'clock, maybe even later, and they only open till about 8 o'clock at night. So I asked them, how come? I said, I saw we can make a parnasa without it. And then the people adjust to our schedule. They need something, they'll come when we're open. Right? And that is the truth. When you come there, you see that. So you came in. I remember Benny. There used to be a guy, when I was a little kid, he used to have a stand. I don't know if any of you remember what a stand was, but what they used to do is sell soda from the what do you call it, from the fountain, and they sold candies and newspapers, cigarettes also. And newspapers. That was their parnasa. And it was freezing. There's no summer. It was boiling, and winter was freezing. But that's what your parnasa was. And they were open late. They were Machal Shabbos and everything else. One year, one week, I guess it is there. The Sunday has all the jokes used to be in the Sunday paper. I think that time was a nickel, and he had a lot of newspaper, and I went down to buy a newspaper. I'm going to read the jokes, right? I come down and Benny's closed, so I'm disappointed. But the next morning I asked Benny, "What happened to you?" He said, "What happened was I got sick, and I made a neder that if I get well, I'm going to become a Shemesh Shabbos." So I became a Shemesh Shabbos. And I saw that my parnasa didn't get less by being Shemesh Shabbos. And then I said, if it doesn't get less by being Shemesh Shabbos, maybe I can take a day off on a Sunday also. And that also I did. And I also didn't get less. So I did enough ishtadlus in the 5 days or the 6 days or something like that. It's enough ishtadlus. You're open all day, you're going to have the parnasa. Over there. You have to be up that day. That's a question. Who adjusts to who and what it is. What's called the standard. What's not the standard. Okay, that's the union of what Ishtadlus is. But you do the proper shtatlus to get a sufficient amount of money. Anyway, they did this every single day. They started on a Sunday, mashma. And all of a sudden it came Friday, and the people came to him, the Nesiim came and said, everybody pick 2 Aimon. Well, so what should everyone pick 2 Aimon? Didn't I tell you that? No. We don't find that he told it to Klal Yisrael. God told it to him, but he left it out. He didn't tell it to Klal Yisrael. Why didn't he tell it to Klal Yisrael? He wanted this to happen. He wanted them, because I tell you, by the way, comes Friday, pick only one, but Shabbos you're not going to have, so you're going to bet that one is going to be 2. You believe that? Or when you go out, you're going to try and pick 2 because you don't really believe it. So Moshe Rabbeinu didn't tell him that it's going to be less. You're not going to have on Shabbos. So when they came and they measured on the thing, all of a sudden we got double. Now we have a big cash. Why do we have double? Hu Ashadi Hashem. That's what God said. That will be what he. But you see one great thing from this. We all know that Shabbos we don't. Shabbos is not counted. The normal ones, whatever is counted, and whatever it means in that. Not only isn't it counted, meaning that if I work for it, I'll get it. That's for Talmud Torah. Talmud Torah, I'm going to have to work for it. But if I work for it, I'll get it. Shabbos, I don't have to work for it even. Because the mon itself, they picked only 1 oimel, and 1 oimel became 2 oimel. And that second oimel was for Shabbos. So whenever I make for Shabbos, it's included in my normal thing. You have the money. You can make a cheshbon of monies that you make over the year that you did not do any work for. Whether the stock market thing went up, real estate took a big a jump. It doesn't make a difference what it is. This is money that you didn't work for. And in a regular day, it's a tip a guy gave you. Or, in the case of a salesman, which we were talking about before, a guy normally gives me, we said, repeat orders, 10 repeat orders, 20 repeat orders, I don't know what I said. But all of a sudden, the guy, instead of a repeat order, which he normally is 5 dozen, he said, I need 100 dozen. That 100 dozen is Shabbos, not my luck. But as far as your work goes, all you do is pick up the phone and say, Joe, deliver 100 dozen to this guy instead of 2 dozen. That's all I did. Same phone call, same thing that I normally did. Didn't cost me a bit of effort more than I did before. That's Shabbos. When it costs me more effort, then we have to think about what it's for. But with Shabbos comes without effort. So you have to figure out which monies I make during a year that I don't have an effort for. That's Shabbos. Okay. Now we come in, they had a fight with Amalek. Amalek comes, and they destroy Amalek. But it's a funny way how they destroy Amalek. Vayachlesh Yeshua es Amalek v'samei avicharev zok Rashi. That what does it mean? It means they chopped off the heads of the strong ones, but the weak ones they let live. Al pi adibu. Why would I do that? If I let Amalek alive, they're going to have some children who will be strong ones. They're going to have a Haman. They're going to have other things they're going to have in the time. Why am I leaving them alive? Because it's important for us to know what's bad in this world, what's evil. If Amalek does it, you know it's wrong. That's the simplest way. No other Torah. I don't have to give you any other reasonings involved in this. And this goes for all the things that seemingly right, but if it was done by the Shoyim, you have to say, if they did it, it's wrong. I have to figure out why it's wrong. I may not know why it's wrong unless I examine it well. Like, for instance, Zdoim, which probably their chet was the fact that they believed that we have to have, everyone has to be equal. And So in height, if you're too tall, we chop off your legs. You're too short, we stretch you. Right? You're too rich, we take away your money from you. Whatever it is there. You know, everything has to be, and everyone has a right to do what he wants. He wants nus. You want, what do you call it? Mishkav zocha. Doesn't make a difference. Whatever it is, we don't tell anybody what to do. We don't tell anybody what to think. So if we have a society like that, we know it's wrong. It's evil. Maybe it gives us a way of living. I'm not denying that. If they tell you you can't mishrain into the enemy's business, it means you won't mishrain into the Jew either. Why you're Jews? They want to be Jews. Let them be Jews. Who cares? Right? That's fine if that's what they would do. Unfortunately, as we know in the world, that if I don't believe that this is what I believe in, whether it's communism, socialism, we destroy the other guys. We're not to say you keep and do what you want. We'll do what we want. We hold your right. No. We're going to make sure you don't exist. And that already is the problem. That's the thing with it. So it's not going to get any better by that. Okay, now we're going to get... So it's Vayachlis Yeshua Samalek. Then we have here, this is not the Parshas Zocher that we normally learn, but there are Mefarshim that happen to say that if you did not hear Parshas Zocher during the year, if you heard the Kriya of Purim on Purim, you were Yetzer Parshas Zocher. And Lanias Daiti, I don't think it's right. That doesn't mean there's no one that says it. I'm saying there's people that say it, but I don't think it's right. And I'll explain to you why. Over here it says, Vayem Hashem Moshe, I want you to write this by Sefer, B'Sim Dozen Yeshua, Ki moche emche zecha Amalek, I will destroy Amalek, right? Vayive Moshe, HaMizbeach, V'Yekish Hashem Nisi, Vayemer Ki Yod Al Keisko, Milchama L'Hashem Ba'Amalek Medordo. God will fight Amalek every single generation. That's nothing, it doesn't say anything about Jews. Could be that if the Benshim will tell us, I want you guys to go out like it told Shaul HaMelech, you go out and kill Amalek, and then the chiyuv becomes on us to kill Amalek. But until he does that, there's no chiyuv on us to kill Amalek. Benshim is taking care of Amalek. Now let's see if that's the case. So let's see what it says in Parshas Kisei. Zocher Sharos Olcha Amalek Bader, Testament time. Remember what he did to you, right? Asher Korcha, he called you off, okay. V'hoye Banecha Hashem Lekecha Olcha Mikol Yevivecha, when God will save you from all your enemies from around you, right? Then, what do you call? I want you to be Timcha Zech Amalek, wipe out Amalek. Right. So, going back many years ago when I was in Telz, it was Purim, and I guess I must have drank something, I don't know. I don't usually do, but possibly I did. Otherwise I wouldn't have had the guts to go over to a Beli Meir. But I did. I went over to him and I asked him a question. I said, if we were Mekayim the mitzvah Mechias Amalek, then we only have 612 mitzvahs in the Torah. And we were made a mitzvah in the Torah. It doesn't make sense. If we need 613, it's 613, not 612. So he answered me, it's not talking about the physical goof of Amalek, it's talking about the ideas of Amalek that were sold in the world. That's what you have to get rid of, the ideas of Amalek. Thinking about what he told me, now I had a different explanation of what it says over here. Besides what I told what it says in Bishalach, I'll tell you what it says here in Yisrael. If you remember what Amalek did to you, when should you remember? When should we do this? When Hashem was when God gives you menucha from all your enemies from around you, and I assume in that enemy that's around me, Amalek is also considered one of them, right? That means Amalek is dead; it doesn't exist anymore. So what is it that I have to destroy? I have to destroy the Zecher Amalek. what we talk about, oh, Amalek had this thing that let's go to the museum and see what they had and how they serve their gods and how they do this and how they do that and the ideas and their philosophies and this and no, they're dead. Get rid of them. They're gone. No more. No, it's the Greeks. The same thing in the Greeks to doing the Vedas Zohar. Now we have Greek mythology. In Baruch Hashem, there's no real danger in them, I think, simply because it's called mythology. It's a bunch of Baba Mises, and they're cute Baba Mises. So it's a nice story. But what's the Avla? We believe in one God. They believe in 100 gods, 1,000 gods. Each one has a Yesod. We unified all these Yesodas into one. No, they didn't have a Yesod. They had guys who wanted Znus, they had Aphrodite for their god. The guy wants to be a Ganef, he had Loki for his god. The guy wanted to be a murderer, he had Mars or Ares for his god. So there was different things where they had these gods. And with everybody, whatever they did, it doesn't make a difference. They have a god that's behind them, that justifies them. And therefore, that's the thing that's terrible. We can't have such a justification. So we don't want them, we don't want such philosophy in the world that can have. So Baruch Hashem, we got rid of it in the sense that we call it mythology. But once it'll get back, if it ever gets back to the yin of religion and stuff like that, and then it's going to be a bit of a Maisa, because then it's a terrible thing. And in order not to make sure that it never comes back, we get rid of it. And this is something what it does to us. We get poisoned by these ideas. We have in any type of the ideas we spoke about before, the equality and everything else, we all agree that people should be equal. First of all, because of ourselves, and we know how much souls we have. So of course we want for everybody to have everything, but it has to be fair, it has to be right. And people who have Gerasel Kishreinis, they have more responsibilities in this world. It's not a free ride. It's not I made you a person that you can become very rich for yourself. No, I made you rich so you can support many things, because you have good ideas. You'll give out stock to a lot of people. That's the thing that we want. That's what these guys who have all the billions of dollars that they have, what's the purpose of it? It's in the bank, then it can't have any bit of hanoia more than a guy with only $1 billion. I guarantee it, and probably not even more than $100 million. So what's the point of $200 billion or $300 billion? Like we have people that have that. And I remember the Rosh Yeshiva Zatzal used to say that he, in a way, was richer than Rockefeller. And Rockefeller was the rich guy in my time. Rothschild was Europe, and when these guys didn't exist yet. Why? Because I need every penny that I have. So when I work, I get the benefit out of every minute that I work, because I have the money I need. On the other hand, Rockefeller has all the money he needs, so what's he working for? He's working for nothing. It's mamishum zis. No value at all in what he's working for. Right? Therefore, that's the point that see if anything more. Now we can go back a little bit. It's just the thinking about people who are kafrim in the ta'atav of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Adosim Avirim. What did they do? They collected mun. They didn't eat up all the mun. They saved half of it for the next day, because they didn't know if it's going to fall again tomorrow or not. Right? So they're right. So we have to shboravon. We have to diet, whatever you call it. We have to manage. It's very true. But you know what happened? On the day that they ate, they got the email, they weren't full because they left off a half. And the next day, they didn't need it. So they didn't get anything out of it. That was completely right. So they lost by the fact they didn't trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Everyone that trusts in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they got today and they got tomorrow. He got today, he got tomorrow too, that's true. But he didn't get that extra that he thought he was going to get. And he didn't have it, and he didn't eat enough for him to be. He gave up from himself that, after he lost. Gemara says, and the Medrash says really, that they fought by Amalek, and that Hur and Aaron, and one thing you see from here, that number 3 man in Klal Yisrael is Hur. And when he goes up to Mount Sinai, he tells them, I'm leaving you Aaron and Hur. Anybody has any problems, go to them. How old is Hur? Hur's Kalev's son. Right? He's 25. I don't even know if he's that much. Don't forget he has a grandson, Bitzalel, who's 13. So, how old is he? And Kalev is 37, 38. So, he's a great-grandson. So how old is he? Aaron is how old? 83. Right? And he's what? 20, whatever he is, right? And he's number 3 man in Klal Yisrael. He's Miriam's son, Taki. Ablamaisa, fantastic cases that he had. Unfortunately, they kill him. And the sun stood still. In other words, they had Aboya Shemesh, means not just till sunset. It means that until the victory was complete, whatever they were trying to accomplish, they accomplished. And that was to wipe out all the strong people of Amalek. Now here the Rebbeinu Shem told them to hit the rock to give you water, right? And why? Because that's a mushal. When I'm going to be mitzavi you the first time, you have to have a rod in the hand. You need to understand this punishment if you don't do the job. Okay? The second time, though, that's not necessary because I learned my lesson and I'm only serving God because I want to serve God. Then I talk to you. And that was the Kiddush Hashem that the Rebbeinu Shem wanted Moshe to make when he wanted him to talk to the rock. We'll talk about that again in Bamidbar. It's not negated to hear, but the idea is to understand that that there's an Indian of why you hit. It was a muscle to hitting. And the water worked in such a way that everyone who needed water just put a stick and drew where the water should go, and the water followed him to wherever he needed it. It was many multiple nisim that took place with this water, the Be'er Miriam, and it's still around. It wasn't supposed to be in the base of Mikdash, whatever it is there. Okay. Yeah, it says that he came to Elim. In Elim, they had 70, what do you call it, Tumorim, and they had 12 wells. That's to teach you, in life, things happen. We always say, oh, the bench has a Yevot, what can you do, and something like that. And we're always talking about something not so good. In other words, or we didn't see the good originally, we thought it was bad, and then they're saying, you see, the bench and then sometimes you see that what happens is the right thing. It was there right from the beginning. He came to Elim. Elim makes sense. There are 70 Tmorim, which is Sanhedrin, 12 minus of water. Each Shevet has its own water well, and everything else. Mele, there's a tremendous hakora, recognition that the Rebbeinu Shalom is running the world. And I think for that reason that Nemesis, that that has this posik to tell you this thing. What's the point? What do I care? Didn't tell me about the other places they stopped, what they had over there. Tell me when they had problems. Didn't tell me when they had good stuff. So obviously, it's a point that this is an important lesson for us to know. That look into what things happen to you. And you'll know that not all of it is bad. There may be good there, and you have to see it. Just sometimes you think it's bad. That's why you didn't look hard enough. Same thing over here in Elim. We came to Elim, and what's a big deal? No, you see that set up special for us. It's the world, everything is special for us. We got the house we wanted, special for us. We got the thing we wanted, special for us. Anyway, have a good Shabbos, everybody. And Shabbat Sloche. I guess we're getting to Mechias HaMolek. We're getting closer and closer to Purim and to the Gulis. Zamir Tzai Hashem, we zeichen to the Gulis Shleim. Amen.